In this video, I want to talk about the time entry system that we've built into FM Starting Point, starting with version 4.3 and later.